my world got completely turned on its head because right before I got out of the military, I had just come back from Afghanistan.
Hey guys, it's Donnie here, and I just want to let you know that we've recently launched a content development company, and this company helps people get social content. You know you need to put out a lot of content nowadays to get engagement out there in all your social platforms. Well, we've come up with a really cool way to help you get videos, blog posts, memes, social posters, and infographics for whatever social site you need. So check us out at successchamps.us and learn more about how you can get social content for your social media.
Support for this podcast comes from Point Blank Safety Services and Blue Family Fund. Blue Family Fund, helping dependents of law enforcement families on their journeys. Blue Family Fund is a nonprofit that raises funds and offers financial support through higher education scholarships for dependents of law enforcement officers and by providing financial assistance for families of fallen law enforcement officers. Every dollar donated will go to the families of police officers, either through scholarships to dependents of police officers or as aid to fallen officers' families. Visit us at bluefamilyfund.com.
You're listening to Donnie Success Champions, where I believe everybody is on a journey. Life is all about the stories you can tell and teach later. You're going to hear the stories of people who have overcome hardships, failures in life to find success along their journey. All right, guys, so this is going to be a fun episode. I'm bringing in Miss QueenKimmie to share her story about her transition out of the military, how she hid behind some things and names, and now she's fully blossomed, and she's doing some amazing and beautiful things. Enjoy this ride. All right, guys, this is going to be a killer episode. I'm bringing in Miss Kimberly Tyson, who also goes by QueenKimmie, guys. And I'm telling you, this girl is jazzed up, fired up, and I'm excited. I'm your host, Donnie Boivin, and this is Donnie's Success Champions. Let's get rocking and rolling. Miss Queen Kimberly Tyson, welcome to the show, my dear. Please tell us your story.
All right. Thank you for such a wonderful introduction. I love that. So this little girl right here was born in South Georgia. And if you know anything about South Georgia in the United States, that means we are country, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I ran around outside barefooted with no shoes on, down red clay, brick road, dirt road. So when I came into the military and they said run, I'm like, I've been running all my life. You mean I got to run again?
That's awesome. So
my plan was to stay in the military. I wanted to stay in as long as I possibly could. I wanted to be one of those people who would get kicked out, kicking and screaming. You know those old people that like, dude, why don't you just retire and free up a space for somebody? Yeah, right. That was going to be. Well, when my commander said, hey, you know what? I think you need to go to counseling. You got some issues. And I'm like, no, I'm not. I'm a bitch all the time. This is normal. No, it's not, Kim. You need to go to counseling. You got some stuff you need to deal with. And so I went to counseling. I had some stuff, I had some injuries that I just did not heal from to finish that. So I was retired at 15 years. So everything changed when they said, you're going to be retired from the Army at 15 years. That was not my plan. I didn't know who I was outside of the military because before that, like I said, I came from South Georgia. I had limited world experience, limited world exposure. So coming from that, I had to relearn a lot of things in order to be successful, not only in the military, but in my life as well. So I had a lot of hindrances that I had to deal with within myself and let those things go in order to grow so I could better serve my soldiers. And once I was able to do that and serve my soldiers, when it was time for me to retire and transition, I was able to go back and say, hey, you love training and leading soldiers. You love teaching. You love doing these PowerPoint presentations. You love trying to show your commander, hey, sir, you can't do that. So why not take those skills and use them in the civilian world? Who are you? Queen Kimmie, you are a teacher. And so that's what I decided to continue training and leading on the civilian side. And it brings me so much joy. And I do that through writing, through courses, through books, through speaking engagements. I even have a podcast that I started and then I stopped because, you know, I have PTSD, so I can't focus on one thing too long. So I do a whole bunch of stuff so I can.
No, I love this. I love this. You know, so it's interesting enough. One, sucks that you only can do your 15. I know that was a mental punch in the face for a lot of people. Girl, I did my 4 and ran like hell, right? I mean, I was up with that 4, get me done, get me the hell out of this rodeo. I'm grateful that I did it. Don't get me wrong. But if you would have met me back in those days, I'd have been that little dude. You've been like, dude, what the hell is the matter with you, right? So I did my 4 and got out. So you jump out, and like most people, you go through this identity crisis, right? You know, a lot of people, as they're serving in the military, are identified as being in the military. To this day, I still say I'm a Marine, you know, so that's just part of my story and part of my journey. You know, for you, why do you think it was such a hard transition? Was it the, you know, constantly being told what to do, where to be, the structure to lack of structure, or was it your world just got turned on its head?
My world got completely turned on its head because right before I got out of the military, I had just come back from Afghanistan, and my unit took a lot, you know, in Afghanistan, and our unit was selected to be closed down. You ever seen Band of Brothers?
Yeah.
Okay, so that was my unit. You see on my board, I was a mutineer. I was in Fort BCT out of Fort
Girl,
Campbell.
you look way too young to have been around during Band of Brothers. I'm just saying. I know.
No. In that unit.
Right.
So our unit was selected to come back early so that we could shut down. So we had a fast-paced deployment. We came back. We had to close down the unit within 6 months. Had to find everybody a new home. It was a really stressful time. So for me coming back, getting out, being in a position of leadership and coming out to civilians, for lack of a better word, me and civilians had a hard time getting along because I thought that everybody should be punctual. Everybody should know how to follow orders. And I thought that everybody had this great military background that I had come to love and learn. And when I go back home, my family's still doing the same thing. I love my family, but I don't do those things that we do in the South Georgia country world anymore. I want to do something more.
Well,
so
I'm curious, do you have shoes on right now?
Actually, I do.
Okay, just checking because, you know, my mom grew up as a country girl, right? And, you know, mom still walks around with those shoes on. God love her, on our farms and everything else. So I bet you can do some damn fine cooking or around some damn fine cooking.
And there you go. So for me, it was like, hey, I wanted to go in the kitchen and create. Like, I've never followed a recipe to the letter, okay?
Right.
I've never done it. I don't know many women who can do that. So I started cooking, and then I started going to counseling, and my counselor said, hey, why don't you write? Your brain is all over the place. Why don't you start writing? And I was like, well, I'm a scatterbrain. I can't write. I start writing one thing, and I start writing another thing. And from there, I remember being a little girl, I wanted to create Scatterbrain Kingdom. And so I created Scatterbrain Kingdom, and I am Queen Kimmie of Scatterbrain Kingdom, because I do my coaching and courses. So it's like Scatterbrain Kingdom. Choose your path, take your journey, or not. You don't have to.
All right. So you took something you created as a little girl, and I'm assuming this was some sort of imaginary world that you would hang out in, and you brought it 15, closer to almost 20 years later, whatever, full circle, and now have a coaching business that's based off a childhood fantasy.
Yes.
That's freaking awesome.
Because, like, who were we before the world told us who we were? We were just these big, free-hearted kids, right?
Yeah. Dude, I love it. You know, when I stand on stage, one of my favorite questions to ask the room is, what's the one question you can ask a group of people as children, they will scream and yell with answers, but if you ask that same question as an adult, they'll freak out.
Exactly.
And the question is, what do you want to be when you grow up, right? And as kids, you got this answer. You're like, I'm a fireman, I'm a police officer, I'm an army guy, I'm whatever. But man, you ask an adult, and they're all over the damn place, right? Have no clue. Yeah, they're scatterbrained. I love this. I love this. So you created this whole genre, and you're QueenKimmie.
Yes, and I'm QueenKimmie. Yes.
Do you walk around with a crown and a staff and all that? I mean,
well, I'm only the queen of my kingdom, and since it's my little home here and my family, I actually have a mug. You see my mug?
Queen of everything. I love it. I love it.
So basically, that's what it is. It's a family business. It works for me because it gives me a new outlook on what it is that I'm doing, and it helps me to let other people know that you're not the only one who's searching for yourself. Scatterbrained people are people who are soul searching, people who are looking for their identity, people who are looking for a place of purpose and trying to find their purpose and their passion. And because we are doing that, we find ourselves putting our hand on all the little shiny objects that catch our eye. Thus, we become a scatterbrain. But when you come into my world in Scatterbrain Kingdom, I let you know that that's perfectly okay. You can do whatever it is you want to do, and you take your passion and you do what brings you happiness, and you focus on finding out what brings you that happiness, and you do it.
Are you working with veterans, or are you working with civilians?
I am working with anybody who believes in transformation.
Okay. Okay.
And currently what I do is I offer people an opportunity to sit down with them, and I help them to create their SMART goals or their action plans for their lives. And I do that absolutely free. And the way I do it is I do that for anybody. If you want to schedule a call with me, I will sit down with you. You go to my website, you get on the schedule, and I will do that with anybody for absolutely free. It's just like counseling a soldier in the military, right?
Right. Yeah.
And then what my coaching and courses come in is if you want me to help you implement it, then that's when the coaching and courses come in. But I do it absolutely free to help you implement the plan. I mean, to help you create the plan. But then that's where I charge, just to help you implement it.
Yeah, absolutely. So in creating this, I mean, because as a little kid, when you had this whole idea of the Scatterbrain Kingdom, you weren't thinking this was something that you were going to carry into your adult life with you. I mean, when your third grade teacher asked you what you wanted to be when you grew up, you didn't say, I'm going to create Scatterbrain Kingdom as an adult. People would have looked at you like you had two heads, right? So when you were putting this together, what was your vision that you were creating? Was it a place for people to free think and then run? Or was it, I needed my own escape, if you will, and I want to offer other people that same freedom?
Exactly. And that is exactly what it is. I needed an escape. And when I needed that escape, it was an escape for me to go gather my thoughts, regroup, and then represent myself. So for me, most of the time when I was in Scatterbrain Kingdom, I was in the closet underneath all the clothes hanging up. And the little space you have left down there where most people put their shoes? Not me. That was my little place to play. So I create that world. And when I come out of that world, now I'm happy and I'm ready to face the world. It's like a recharging.
I love it. Have you ever read Shonda Rhimes' book, The Year Yes?
I have not.
Oh, girl, go get that book. Because Shonda Rhimes, you know who Shonda is?
I do.
Yeah, she did. For the listeners who don't, Shonda Rhimes is the writer of Grey's Anatomy, Scandal, and a lot of your heavy-hitting, sitcoms on TVs right now, the drama series. Well, in The Year Yes, she talks about as a little girl, she had her own kingdom. And she lived. 100%. She lived in a closet growing up. And that's where she learned to create all her stories. There's a lot of parallels with what you're doing and Shonda Rhimes' story. Might be really, really interesting read for you, because I got to tell you, when somebody handed me the book by Shonda Rhimes, I'm not into Grey's Anatomy. I'm not into her dramas. I'm not, I love hearing people's stories, so I gave it a shot. And I got to tell you, I'm freaking glad I did, because it's an amazing book. It's an amazing story. But hearing you talk about you created this world in your closet, I'm like, damn, Shonda did the same thing. And look where her world's taken off to. Very, very, very cool parallels. So now you're helping people, chase their dreams with your coaching, and you're putting accountability measures and life in. And I'm sure it's bringing in that military discipline. Are you like the evil fairy godmother in those situations, or are you more like the nurturing Mr. Rogers?
I'm more like, I don't know. You remember the little column when we were little called Dear Abby?
Yeah.
So I'm more like Dear Abby in your face, No,
I get that. My style of coaching is very, very similar. And I'm more apt to tell you to pull your head out of your ass than to tell you, come on, let's go,
Okay, Donnie, we have to stop for a minute, because I have to speak on that.
All right.
When I started out in this coaching path, I was an imposter. I was doing everything I saw everybody doing on the internet. Like, I was smiling like, oh, hi, my name's QueenKimmie. Come to my coaching school. And I know good and well that was not me. Like, I didn't talk to my soldiers like that. I don't talk to my children like that. So it was like, no, I'm a sergeant. So just be a sergeant and incorporate what you know. Just be yourself. And then I was like, well, who is myself to tell these people what to do? And that's when I realized, guess what? I'm in your face. I'm holding you accountable. I am strong when it comes to what I know. So when I talk about having a foundation, those core Army values that we're taught, that leadership acronym in the Army, that firm foundation takes you a very, very long way.
No, I agree. I had the privilege of sitting on a veteran panel the other night, and they had a lot of city officials around, and what they're trying to do is engage more veterans in entrepreneurism. So they brought a lot of us who are entrepreneurs in, and were asking questions. And one of the questions they asked is, should we flip it? Should we have veterans come in and teach the discipline and the drive that we learn through the military to civilians? And the general consensus is, well, you can't. We went through boot camp, right? We went through different trainings in schools. We can talk about it, but without going through it, it's very hard to teach those dynamics. So what we talked about is we're better off being in mentor situations and guiding situations to try and help people on their journey. And that sounds very similar to what you're doing with your company.
It is. It is exactly what we're doing. And when I retired, the Army has, they have the ACAP program that you go through, and it helps you decide what you want to do when you get out of the military. I was fortunate enough to be here at Fort Jackson in South Carolina, and I was able to take the boots to business entrepreneurial path when I got out. I don't know if you can see, the people can't, but you can see all the things on the wall behind me. Those are all the different programs that the military has for us once we get out. And a lot of veterans do not know that these programs exist, or they don't take advantage of them because they're either depressed and they're like worried about what they're going to do, or they get out and they think they have a plan and they have it all mapped out. And it doesn't work that way, because civilians think differently. I don't care who is what. I know that civilians think differently from us, because we're isolated, we're shut off, we build bonds within our own community. When we're going through those things, we don't have the phone to pick up and call our mom or dad or sisters and brothers to comfort us. So we learn to stand on our own intestinal fortitude.
No, I agree with that wholeheartedly. And, I love telling people about my transition, because it was simply this. I went into the Marine Corps because, and I love telling it, I would love to say because it was all of my patriotic duty and I was standing up for, hell no, I had no idea what the hell I wanted to be when I grew up. So my brother was in the Marine Corps, so I went to the Marine Corps, right? So I mean, that's how I got in. So I went into the Marine Corps not knowing what I wanted to be when I grew up. But then at the same token, when I got out, I still didn't know what the hell I wanted to be when I grew up. But I knew I was done with the military. And for me, and that may be the difference in your transition and mine, is you weren't ready to take off the uniform yet. I was ready to throw that thing in the back of the closet and never see it again. Right? I just wasn't the guy that wanted to be told what to do on a regular basis, where to eat, when to get up, where to stand, which is a lot of people in a 4-year experience. So it's interesting is what we're finding with a lot of veterans is we're catching them at the 5 and 10 year mark once they're out. Because now they're willing to talk more about what's life like. They've gone through their moments of figuring things out and screwing things up and are now ready to try and attempt to grow up. It's very comparable to a college student. A college student goes through a 4-year degree. Now, I'm not saying that they're the same by any means, but a college student goes through a 4-year degree. They go into college, have no idea what the hell they want to be when they grow up. They get a degree in something that they're, in theory, think they're going to do, and then they're out and they get a job that has nothing to do with their degree, and they have no idea. They go flail around for a couple of years until they find something they like, and that's when the mentors start coming to the table. So I don't know. I'm torn between whether it's a problem with the transition or if it's pointless to try and give it to everybody when only some are going to tackle it. So good on you for taking the courses and things, because I'm pretty sure I went through TAPS, which is a transitioning program, but I'm pretty sure they brought in some jackass that I wasn't going to listen to in the first place to try and teach it. So I guarantee I got no value out of it whatsoever. So I'm really proud that you went through those courses, because I guarantee it sets you up for a better chance at success than I was aimed at.
Yes, it actually did. And you can actually, the Boost to Business course, it was phenomenal. It really was. It taught us all aspects of starting a business once we got out. It even went so far as to talk about the different types of businesses and how you can get funding. I mean, it was really, really an informative class, an informative course. It really was. But I'm also a marketing student. I attend Strayer University, and I do marketing. I'm focused on marketing.
That's
at
awesome.
School.
One of the things that we talked about a little bit is the whole name QueenKimmie. And I know that QueenKimmie came about because of your kingdom, but I also know that QueenKimmie came about because of a little bit of that identity crisis. Will you walk us through it?
Mm-hmm. Yes. So QueenKimmie, when you're trying to figure out who you are and you're not sure exactly who you are, and you want to write a book and you're going to be telling other people's business, you kind of wanted to hide because you didn't want people to associate QueenKimmie with Kimberly Tyson. Because, when I share in my book some of the things that I had to let go, some of the things were a little bit deep, and I didn't want people to know it yet about me at that time. But now I'm okay with it. It's a religious factor is one of them. So I don't want to kind of get into that too much, because I was really I was so bound by my religious upbringing that I was closed-minded to any other people's way of life or way of thinking. And That really affected me in the military as far as communicating with my soldiers and be able to be there for them that were not Christian, because in my mind I'm thinking, hey, if you're not a Christian, you're going to hell. And I can't associate with you if you're not a Christian. So when I'm getting called into the first sergeant's office and getting written up because my soldier who's Jewish is starving because he can't talk to me or feel comfortable to talk to me to get separate rations for BAH because I'm a Christian. Or I have a soldier who's dealing with sexuality issues and she can't talk to me because she doesn't feel comfortable talking to me because I'm so closed-minded. So as a Christian minister, I did a lot of soul searching, and I did a lot of in-depth research on the different various religions of the world. And one of the things I decided to let go in my life was, being so closed-minded when it came to religious thoughts. And I decided to become, at that time, a universal life minister. Totally changed my mind about life. My motto in life is live life as best you can, allowing others to do the same without causing any intentional hurt, harm, or pain. We are all here on different journeys, and my journey and your journey are totally different. But who's to say who is right and who is wrong?
That's beautiful. I've received a couple of messages through the show as to why I've brought on certain guests on the show, and my response is because it's my damn show. But the truth of the matter is, and you already said it, is the point of this show is everybody is on a journey. We all have a story to tell. So I get the privilege of hearing people's stories from all different walks of life, and I love the fact that you got to a spot in your life to turn off, and I'm not being rude when I say this, but turn off your ignorance of other worldly views to embrace everybody. And because I think that's where all hate comes from, is ignorance.
Yes.
And, it's mind-boggling to me how people can look at individuals and put them in some sort of box and category. So it's really, truly beautiful that you found that path on your journey. And I can guarantee without a shadow of a doubt that it's made you a stronger person. It's made you a more courageous person, and damn sure made you a better coach and a lot more helpful on your journey. So that's truly beautiful. Yeah. So, as you continue on this path and this journey, where do you see all of this taking you? Where are you going to go? Are you going to be the next Oprah? Are you going to be the next, Shonda Rhimes? Are you going to be the next Tony Robbins, or are you going to be the next Kimberly Tyson?
I'm going to be Kimberly Tyson is going to be dying here real soon, and QueenKimmie is going to be coming full circle.
Okay.
Because what I have found is that when you're in alignment with your purpose and you feel good about it, and you can do it when you're 80, 90, 100 years old, you have found that it in life. When I got my first client, I thought I was going to be so happy to get all this money, but I wasn't. I didn't feel anything different when I started making the money. I felt different when I woke up one morning and I looked on social media and I was like, oh, wow, that's my client. Oh, wow, she overcame her fear. She did it. Or when my client called me and said, oh, my God, you won't believe this happened. Those things made me feel so good to know that I transformed my life and I'm seeing the transformation in other people's lives. That is what made me feel good. That is what sparked the, oh, girl, you're on the right track. So where do I see myself in the future? I see myself still being QueenKimmie. I see myself still doing the same thing. I see myself coaching, training, online courses, coaching, training, writing books, and helping other people to do the same. My whole mission is to live life full, sharing my stories and encouraging and helping other people to do the same.
That's beautiful. What's the name of your book?
The name of my book is QueenKimmie 101, How I Learned to Love and Let Go. A guide to live life as best you can is what my publisher put in parentheses. I don't even know what that is.
I love it. And I'm assuming it's on Amazon and on your website and all those fun places. And for every book you guys purchase, she's going to send me $100. So purchase. No, I'm kidding. That's not happening.
Hey, for every book you guys purchase, just know that you're helping some homeless veterans in the city of Columbia, South Carolina. As we expand, hopefully we'll be able to grow. But I am looking to partner with the shelter here. It's called the Transition Center, and we also have a barn called the Big Red Barn, which specializes in a place for veterans with PTSD. So as I move forward, my retreat center will be called the COPE mechanism. That's like far reaching, and it's going to be teaching tools to help you cope with PTSD and transitions in your life, no matter what it is. So COPE is going to be combating mental health through self-love and care. That's basically it. Cope with mental health through self-love and care.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful. Girl, I got to tell you, it's been fun having you on this show. I've loved hearing your story. I love what you're doing. And I will tell you, keep going for it, because as you continue down your path and you continue your own enlightenment of discovering you and your talents, your gifts, you're going to change lives. You know, there's so many people that need to hear the story and hear the message. So keep sharing that story. Here's how I like to wrap up every show. And I do stump some people with this, so stand by. If you were going to leave my audience, these champions that listen to the show, with a thought, a phrase, a quote, a mantra, something they can take with them on their journey, especially when they're stacked up against it and going through the tough time in their life, what would be that quote or phrase that you would say, remember this?
Remember this. You have one duty in life, and that is to live life as best you can, allowing others to do the same without causing any intentional hurt, harm, or pain. That is my life motto.
That is beautiful, girl. You need to get that put on T-shirts. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Miss QueenKimmie, I have really, really enjoyed having you on the show. Miss Kimberly Tyson, you're a beautiful person. I really enjoyed you. Thank you so much for coming on the show and sharing your journey.
Thank you so much for having me, Donnie. I really appreciate it. And I'm going to unleash my inner badass.
That a girl. I love it. I love it. Thanks for listening to Donnie's Success Champions podcast. If you'd like to hear more about our current guest today, or if you'd like to hear stories from our other guests on the show, come hang out with us on our website at successchancepodcast.com. I really appreciate you tuning in. If you need to reach out to me for any reason, you can catch me at Donnie@DonnieBoivin.com.